Well, the museum, as most things, came out of seeing a desperate need. I forgot who it was that said innovation is the child of desperation. But at any rate, that's what it seems like, because there are artists. Myself, I had experienced losing art many times in my life. There was a fire, a house fire, which wiped out a huge amount of my artwork. And then I've had a lot of art lost, some to flood, and a bunch of work to a building collapse. And so I had experienced the disappearance of works of art that I had thought were very valuable and might have a place in posterity. I would say the best example of preserving art, there are two types of artists. Artists who are in the economic mainstream of business, of the art business. This is a very small percentage of the artists in the world. Most of the artists have nothing to do with the mainstream art business. When I'm not talking about people who sell a painting from time to time, because they're not in the mainstream. They're artists who people see their work, and as a natural occurrence in life, they want it and want to buy something, but that's not the business of art as we know it, or how it's been for a very long time. And one of the eccentricities of the art business is that there are many political and business reasons for people deciding what's good art in their lifetime. In other words, this has nothing to do with art, this just has to do with the people who are in the business at the time. They have their favorites, they have their prejudice, they have their deals. They have favors they're doing for rich clients, which is to support one artist and not another. So all of these things create what is not a free market. There is not really a free market in art. The art market is the most opaque market in the world. That means there's a lot of secrets and a lot of conflicting agendas for buying and selling the art. So an example of that is Vincent van Gogh. He was not part of the mainstream. Everybody told his brother and his brother's wife that this was a lost cause, that this art was worthless. Soon after Vincent died, his brother Theo died, and Theo's wife was left with the art, and everyone told her to throw it away. But she hung on to it, and she decided to promote it. And so now we know that Vincent's work in a later art market, which had a different point of view and fewer political ties and more generally accepting trends, he's now worth many millions and millions for a single painting, which was considered worthless. Okay, that's the art market. So there's artists of great worth who are living, making their art, they're committed to their work, and they die. And many times when they die, their art disappears completely. It disappears and it's gone forever, and it's as if they were never here. This is an insult to our heritage. We are a young country here in America, and we have many great artists. And many of these artists do their work, fulfill their aspirations, and die, and their work is discarded. And this is a tragedy. It shouldn't happen. It's an insult to America, the most powerful nation in the world, and it can't hang on to some of the great achievements of its people. So this is why the museum is to try and save some of this art. The idea is if you grab up as much as you can of art that's threatened with extinction, that later on in the future it will be considered valuable, and that at that time the museum can garner funds and more prestige and be able to continue saving our American heritage, because that's what we're losing, and we're losing it at a terrific clip. So we need the museum. I think we need the museum, and a lot of other people think so too. So that's why it's here.
So is there a way for the general public to, one, find out about the museum and to get involved in some way?
Right. We have a website. The website is the riverartmuseum.org. It's simple enough. You can go there, and we will continue to have information about what we're doing and artists that we're trying to save. And so this is an ongoing process, and I should probably tell you about a project or two that we did. Does that sound good?
I would be very interested.
Okay. One of the artists who recently passed away in Fairfield County, Connecticut, is Lisa Doherty, and we went to Lisa's storage space, and we shot. We set up a camera and had several helpers and shot as much of her work as we could so that we had a visual record of it. And we set up a database where these could be held, and we took some information such as the size, the date, the media, that kind of typical thing. And because part of the idea of preserving the artist's work is also telling their story. Mm-hmm. Because just putting some artist's work in a storage unit somewhere and no one ever knowing that it's there, or having no visual representation, is not a good format. That's not a good way to go about it. So we put a lot of emphasis on documentation.
So do you see a significant arm of the museum being a digital library?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And we applied for a grant last year for that direction, which would have us interact with other arts groups and guilds and artists associations and whatnot to see which of their artist members were senior artists whose work might be at risk, and we're focusing really on artists who have a lifetime body of work, as opposed to people, hobbyists, and people who are just having some fun with art and really have not done a lot of art. We're focusing on people who've been involved in art as a major part of their life for a long time.
So is this by invitation only, or can people reach out to you and recommend?
No, anyone can recommend someone. Someone can say, we have a place at the museum where someone can fill out the form, and basically you only need an email address and say, I know this great artist, this person really needs to be documented or something, and we will put them on the list. And of course, people can finance or sponsor a project, a documentation project. We're always low on funds, and so if someone is willing to help fund that documenting process, which is less expensive than you might think, then of course, that would be very helpful and go towards convincing us that that individual was sincere in their appreciation of that work.
Where does your physical museum reside today?
Well, right now in Sandy Hook, Connecticut, but it's not a physical museum. We do not open our doors to the public. We're negotiating with some people. That's one of our goals, is to have a permanent base. But we're looking at several different models. You see, right now with the COVID situation, people are realizing that there are changes coming in the way that we might handle things. One is that we're separating storage and showcasing. The traditional museum was, first of all, a vault for people to keep a very valuable collection, and then they would have a showcase at the ground floor of that vault to invite the community to come and see these treasures. That is the old style. Now, for quite some time, museums have been using professional storage spaces, which are basically climate controlled and humidity controlled and overseen by professionals who are familiar with those needs. And so more and more museums have been storing work off-site, away from their main showcase.
Which seems a safer bet. I remember some years ago, Yale had stuff in storage in their basement, and they had some sort of a water event, and a lot of art got damaged.
Right. Well, we're thinking of having a unit in New Mexico.
So we were talking about the physical location of your museum and the trend of museums to separate their storage from their display space.
Right. And actually, when I had first envisioned the museum, I had hoped to gain a partnership or a participation with Amazon and have Amazon provide storage, because we wanted two types of storage. I had explained earlier that just hiding someone's work somewhere was not a good idea. Part of the museum is to have traveling shows and to have venues who normally like to see art, and have art shows packaged. In other words, have them stored ready to hang in shipping containers, so they can very easily, when someone books a show at their library, their university, their gallery, their museum, whatever their venue is, and we can easily ship it to them. And so this delivery system was part of the original idea, and my idea was that Amazon would be perfect because they're great at storage and they're great at delivery. And if they had given us some storage space which was specific to those delivery needs, their robotics could keep track of it easily. And I'm sure that when they discover that this is a good idea, that they will do it very well. So the other idea is long-term storage, and we had been looking at developing New Mexico as a long-term storage space. And then in New York and Hudson River Valley and Fairfield County, Connecticut, those are the two places which I've been active living and working in for most of my life. And so we were hoping to have a center, a showcase center that would be a typical, more typical museum, or at least a working studio. In other words, a place where we can keep our equipment and photographic equipment, and receive works of art and process it for the database, or we can go in vehicles from there to the artist studio or wherever, or the collector's storage space, and do our cataloging. So I was planning on starting with Fairfield County, Connecticut, and the Hudson River Valley, New York, as a beginning, and then the idea was that to repeat this incubator type of unit at anywhere where there was a need and there were people who were willing to follow up on that, because we have so many artists that are really good, excellent artists who we need it. We need it for our heritage. As a young country, as Americans, we've been criticized by Europe and the rest of the world as not having any culture. And so, of course, we're not going to have much of a culture if we don't save it, if we throw it away. That's what we've been doing. A lot of it has simply been going into dumpsters and going out to the landfill. And we don't want that. We have brilliant minds here in America. We have great talent. We have people who need to be recognized. And they need to be recognized by the future. The present is not fit to judge these artists. The present is responsible for a planetary disaster beyond recognition. Everything that's wrong with big business is wrong with big art. We don't want big art defining the future. We want we the people in America to define the future. So find an artist to support, save their art. We'll help you do that.
I think this is an excellent project.